back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
We are back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650. I'm George Gordon. In studio with me with Phillips Lifeline, Canada's #1 medical alert service, are Tracy Griffin, who's on the line with me, and in studio, Jeanette Chouinard. Also in studio, Bonnie McDonald, Fraser Health Lifeline Coordinator at the Newton Home Health. We've talked about the device, its reliability, the information that is contained about the individual, the client who is using it, the aspects of making it so much safer for an individual to live their own life and feeling free of guilt or fear. One of the things that we talked about was, and Bonnie explained how it's so easy to plug in and set up, but I believe that there are more people in homes today who are not going with a landline, so they would have to rely on wireless.
That's correct.
Who can give me an answer about what happens if they're only on, one of the wireless providers?
Well, that's true today. We have many seniors that just have cell phones, and before they had to get a landline in order to get Lifeline. They don't have to do that anymore. We actually have a cellular unit that can just plug into the home, and they'll get the Lifeline service. So, therefore they're saving money because they don't have to put a landline in.
I would think that's important. Certainly, I think the generation coming up behind is relying more and more on the wireless. Now, is it just as reliable as a landline in terms of?
Totally reliable. Again, just like Bonnie would go in, she would do the test, range of throughout the place to show where it works, and so yeah, very easy to install.
Well, we have talked about the need for Philips Lifeline Medical Alert Service, and we've talked about the credible health authorities that work with Philips, the technology. We've talked about getting set up for Philips Lifeline. Let's talk about the most important part of the equation, and that is what happens when the emergency happens. And please tell us about the amazing people that you have at Philips, known as the Personal Response Associates. I so crudely, I think earlier, referred to them as agents or something like that. But these
a mouthful.
Yeah, it's important
but
because
they are important.
They don't just answer phones. Talk about the training and the concept of the closed loop and so on. Tracy?
Yes. So our personal response associates, we like to refer to them as the heart of our organization. These are the ones that are, there day in and day out with our subscribers. As I mentioned earlier, they quite often build relationships with these subscribers. And the level of service that they provide is it's just remarkable. I quite often go into our response center and just sit and listen to calls, and it's just it's heartwarming to hear the conversations that we have and how great the seniors feel. But when we hire a personal response associate, they actually do not ever go on the floor and take an alarm until they've gone through very extensive training. They're actually in training for over 3 weeks, and the training includes everything from learning our systems to even learning a little bit about the medical conditions that our seniors would deal with. They go through a lot of sensitivity training because, as you can imagine, we do have some seniors that may have difficulty hearing or other conditions, and so our personal response associates have to be really, aware of these situations and adjust the way that they approach each and every call. I'm not sure if I mentioned, we actually have 2 response centers. We have one in Toronto, and we also have one in Montreal. And of course, both are open 24/7, 365 days a year.
That sounds a lot more training and a lot more care involved than just giving somebody a sheet of instructions and here's who you call if somebody calls in. These people, when you talk about the sensitivity training, and because everybody is a little bit different, what are some of the things that they run into when somebody calls? Because somebody may have picked up the phone, but they may be reluctant to say anything's wrong with them. How do they overcome that?
Yeah, and I think it's just a friendly conversation that they will have with that subscriber. And we do get many situations where a subscriber may not tell us what's wrong or may not even be aware that something's wrong, but our personal response associates have the training to actually look for cues or listen, and depending on what the person is saying or how they're breathing on the phone or how they're talking, they get the training to identify those situations. And not too long ago, we had a situation where a subscriber pushed their button. They didn't mean to push their button. They hit the button by accident. But when our personal response associate was on the phone, very faintly in the background could hear a fire alarm. And so instead of just hanging up the phone, actually ask the subscriber questions. The subscriber was not even aware that the fire alarm was going off. So our personal response associate took it upon themselves to call the fire department, and lo and behold, they got to that senior's home, and the apartment was on fire. And so it's that kind of, it's just another level of training that our associates receive that allows them to troubleshoot in those emergency situations.
And are the ages of your agents, are they young? Are they more experienced? Are they well educated? Are they do you ask them if they have parents or elderly or grandparents to get a feel for what their empathy level would be?
Yeah, I think that the answer to all of the above is yes. I mean, we have some university people that are going to university that are our agents, and we have some people that have been with our organization for 25, 30 years and have been answering alarms. So it really does vary in terms of age and gender, and in terms of education. Again, they're all very very well educated. But the training and the training that they receive upon hire is so intensive that really we could pull a high school student off the street and give them the training, and as long as they had the right personality and the right sensitivity towards our subscribers, they could do the job. But it's really a culture thing for us. We need to make sure that we have that friendly voice on the other end of the phone when we get that alarm.
Terrific. Question that some people may have because of perhaps their condition. Maybe they're moving to a smaller place or an apartment or a granny flat, if I could use that terminology. Can you transfer service? Who can help me with that one?
Absolutely. They just call in and let us know they're moving, and we meet them the day that they're moving and set up their service so that there's no interruption.
All right. So how do let's say I'm the person that needs the lifeline, and I have to get some instruction. Who's going to help me out there? Who's going to make sure I absolutely know what I'm doing with this thing?
So I'm going to meet with them at their home. I set up a time. It usually takes about an hour to go through everything with them. So we first go through the care plan, make sure all the information's correct. If there's anything we need to add, we do it right there when we're at our home visit. Then I go through and just explain that we have one cord that goes into an electrical outlet, and we have another cord that just goes straight into their phone jack. Their phone jack gets plugged into the back of our unit, so there's no interruption to their telephone line. They can still use it like they normally do. And then we do the voice range test, and we do the test to make sure it goes everywhere. We'll go outside and make sure it works outside so they feel confident if they're in the garden doing gardening that their button's going to work there. If they're bringing groceries home, they want to know that it's going to work in the front driveway. And they just ask us all kinds of questions, and we just get them to press the button. The only important thing they need to know is just press the button if you need help, and for any emergency. If you need the police, fire, ambulance, if you wake up and you're sick, and you need somebody to come and stay with you, you just call. Press that button. That's what we're there for.
All right. A couple more features I think we should talk about, too. Can Lifeline be used if there's an internet connection being used on the same phone line? Tracy? Bonnie?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the cellular communicator actually comes with a SIM card in it, so it actually has its own network, if you will. And so we don't rely on any other network inside the home for the service to work. So yes, it works 100% of the time.
All right. Now, having a Lifeline, does that mean I'm going to have higher telephone bills?
No.
No?
No, it doesn't.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, they just call the 1-800 number, goes to a toll-free number.
can I have a Lifeline monthly payment charged directly to my credit card? That might be for some people in accounting for their costs each month. Can they do that?
Yes, they can. They can have it to their credit card. We figure out the best method of for them to pay, but pre-authorized payments are probably the most popular.
I've noticed on the neck cord that you can seem to be able to adjust it a little bit. Let's talk about if I need to adjust the neck cord. Can I tie it in a knot?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
You never want to do that because then it becomes a choking hazard.
Okay.
So we do have a breakaway. If you do get caught, it will break apart, and it's designed to do that. We don't want you to tie it in a knot. We'd prefer you to call us and let us know, and we'll bring out a brand new one.
Excellent to know. Can we talk a little? Everybody's going to ask, okay, what's this going to cost me? What's the service going to cost me? It may differ, but do you have a parameter and where we can get more information on that?
Right. It depends on the model, and it depends on on the program, but it can range just say under $40 to just a little over $80. But they can just call the 1-800 Lifeline, and they'll give them the pricing.
Okay, good information. Talk to me if you can. We've talked about the people who need the service. Can you tell me a couple of experiences, and you don't have to name names, but just families who have come to you that you have helped, that have given them peace of mind, knowing that their loved one has this service?
Well, I had one client, and she was 98 years old, and her daughter wanted her to have the service. And when I showed up for the appointment, the mother didn't know I was coming to actually install for her. So, of course, the mother's watching the whole demonstration. And then she said, well, I'm 98 years old and I've lived 98 years without this, and you can leave now. And I was just horrified. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm being thrown out. Okay. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the same lady, and she says to me, can you come back and install the Lifeline? And so I was curious. I said, what happened? And she said, well, you know how you were talking about falls happen, and it's unpredictable. You don't know when and where. She used to talk to her daughter in the evening before she went to bed, and she would see her daughter at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what had happened was she talked to her daughter, she went to bed, but she had a backache, so she got up and she had a tub. And she was sitting in the nice warm water, and when she went to get up, she slipped and fell. Well, she laid there all night long, and the next day when the daughter showed up, she found her mom, and she told me, I never want to see the look in my daughter's face again. And she got the Lifeline. And then we fast forward a year, and she calls me and says, can you take my daughter off as a responder? And I said, oh my goodness, you didn't have a fight, did you? And she said, no, I have Lifeline. She's moving to the island with her husband and grandchildren, and she knows I'm safe.
That's a great story because
Yeah.
it talks about the level of comfort, the level of trust, obviously, in the product and the service behind it, and the training. If you'd like more information about Philips Lifeline, you can go to lifeline.ca or call Philips Lifeline now at 1-800-LIFELINE. This is George Gordon. You've been listening to Boomer Life on CIL 650. All right. Tracy?
Hi there.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, that was great.
Good. It was a lot of
good.
fun. Like a lot of information out there, and as you notice, we keep trying to drive people to the website